You know, being a big YouTuber is a lot like being the captain of a big ship. You're in charge of this massive machine with a ton of different parts that you don't fully understand, and thousands of people depend on you to steer that machine in the right direction. Every sailor knows the tragedy of the Titanic, the unsinkable vessel, the ship that was too big to fail. It's a story that's been told dozens of times, and it always ends the same way, with the Titanic doomed to a watery grave. And just as sailors should beware of the Titanic's fate, so too should YouTubers beware of Leafy's fate. Did you ever hear about the tragedy of Darth Leafy the Young? When you look at Leafy's channel today, what you see is basically a sinking ship. His channel is bleeding subscribers almost every day. Like a ship taking on water, it has become completely unsalvageable. There's no way to stop the bleeding. The only thing left to do is watch it sink. Looking at the ruins of Leafy's channel today, it's hard to believe that this was once one of the most powerful empires in YouTube history. So what on earth happened? What caused Leafy's expedition to sail so desperately off course? Why did all of his fans suddenly abandon ship? Everyone thinks they know the whole story, and if you ask any old YouTuber, they'll tell you the same old tale, that the content cop, iDubbbz himself, heroically slayed the beast that was LeafyIsHere, and that was the end of it. The content cop may have taken all the glory for the kill, but he won't tell you the whole story. That's where I come in. This is the real story about the rise and fall of Leafy's empire. LeafyIsHere opened his YouTube channel on October 7th, 2011, but if you look on his channel today, his oldest videos only date back to November 2013. So did Leafy just wait 2 years to start uploading content? No, it turns out that Leafy spent 2012 doing what every other person on YouTube was doing, making Minecraft videos. That's right, one of the most notorious YouTubers of all time started off as just another Minecraft Let's Player. It's really strange and ironic looking at Leafy's channel with less than 4,000 subscribers, knowing the behemoth that it would eventually become. It's easy to look at a giant YouTube channel and call them overrated while discrediting all of their success, but it's important to remember that every channel has to start from somewhere, and most channels have to spend years working their way up from the very bottom, including Leafy. Sometimes when waiting for their channels to grow, YouTubers get impatient. You look at your sub count and you start to see it as a score in a virtual game. That big number at the top of your channel just looks so impressive. That number is power. That number is influence. And soon, you begin to get desperate, trying everything you can to attract a new audience and grow that number. Because if you want to make it big on YouTube, you gotta have a lot of subscribers. And you think you can control how much that number grows. But if you're not careful, that number will begin to control you. And unfortunately, many YouTubers don't realize this until it's too late. Trying to produce Minecraft content on YouTube will quickly teach you a valuable lesson, and that's that you're a long way from the top. Everyone thinks they can just start up a YouTube channel, play some video games, and in 2 years they'll be driving up to their new mansion in a Lamborghini. That's the image that YouTube has expertly marketed for itself. But unfortunately, it couldn't be further from reality. You see a guy like Captain Sparkles get millions of subscribers from only making Minecraft videos. And you think to yourself, this is so easy. I'm just gonna do what he does and I'll get famous too. Because if you want to make it big on YouTube, you gotta make Minecraft videos. This is everyone's mentality when they start their brand new YouTube endeavor. What they never seem to realize, however, is that about 10,000 other people have the exact same idea. Let's pretend you're driving down the highway. Say you want to stop and order a cheeseburger at the next exit. You pull off the highway and right down the street are a McDonald's and a Burger King. Now imagine that further down the street are about 10,000 other restaurants that sell burgers that are all pretty much all the same, if not worse than McDonald's or Burger King. Now, which restaurants do you think are gonna sell the most burgers? That's pretty much how I imagine what it's like to run a Minecraft channel on YouTube. The difference being that on YouTube, you never see the 10,000 other channels just like you. All you see are McDonald's, Burger King, and all the money they make. And that's usually enough to keep people chasing the dream for a couple of years. Leafy started out as just one of those 10,000 or so channels jockeying to get his own cut of that sweet Minecraft viewer base. By May 2012, he was up to 3,600 subscribers, most of which originated from his flagship series Minecraft PvP Server Let's Play. Who could forget classics such as Part 38, Extreme Rage? By November, his sub count was over 9,000, and by August 2013, he was up to almost 19,000. Decent numbers for sure. Most YouTubers never even get this far. Leafy's channel was almost 2 years old, and something was about to change. Minecraft surpassed its cultural peak in summer 2013. It would never again be as popular. Leafy had a very critical decision to make. He could continue making Minecraft videos and ride that trend into the sunset on his very average YouTube channel, and that would be the end of it. Or he could risk everything and start searching for greener pastures. There comes a time in every YouTuber's life when they're faced with the prospect of abandoning their tried and true formula and pivoting their content to a new frontier. It's a decision that I, myself, have made in the past. It's pretty much the biggest gamble any YouTuber can make. You build up an entire channel, an entire audience doing one thing, and then you just go ahead and do a completely different thing. Some channels have pivoted away from their original audience and experienced tremendous success. Others have done the same thing and killed their entire audience. Some channels never pivot, at least not until it's too late. Remember Captain Sparkles? In his heyday, he was gaining upwards of 250,000 subs per month. Now he's struggling to break 10,000. He stuck to Minecraft content until late 2015, and by the time he tried to expand to other games, it was too late. Captain Sparkles had gone from one of the biggest channels on YouTube to completely irrelevant in just a couple of years. And if there's one thing I've noticed on this website, it's that if you stick to the same formula, you'll inevitably fade away. However, if you shake up your style, you have a chance, just a chance, of sticking around. And sometimes, that chance is enough to convince a YouTuber to make the switch. Leafy showed signs from very early on that he wasn't satisfied with just patiently waiting for popularity. He wanted to stand out. It was likely during the Minecraft era that Leafy conditioned himself to use clickbait titles and flashy thumbnails. Because if you want to make it big on YouTube, you gotta make yourself the center of attention. Over the next 18 months, Leafy would undergo an evolution. He would reboot his vaunted Minecraft PvP series. He would expand to other trendy games, Rust, CSGO. He began to experiment with new video formats. He started a small vlog series. But most importantly, Leafy started to dip his toe into the wild world of YouTube commentary. It started with a brief 3-minute rant on Google Plus in November 2013.
Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're going to be talking about the most loved comment system on the internet, which is Google Plus. Actually, I lied. Everybody fucking hates Google Plus. What a fucking surprise.
This was the first time anyone got to see a darker side of Leafy, a much more cynical Leafy that would attack a topic with ruthless derision. There was just something about his pungent and nasally tone that made young, edgy people want to rally around him. The Google Plus video was Leafy's first rant, and it certainly wouldn't be his last. In 2014, Leafy would appear in a few crossover videos with other Minecraft YouTubers, some of which are still online today.
Dude, there's no way. Look how many people. They're all drinking their pods. Dude, if this works out, I will be extremely surprised. Yeah, they're all drinking their pods, dude. They all are.
It's weird looking at these videos and seeing Leafy act so amicably and casually. At times it sounds like he's genuinely having fun with his pals. Leafy may have been portraying a friendly outward appearance, but internally, Leafy was changing. It was during this time when Leafy would noticeably alter his style. Leafy started to implement his now notorious all-caps video titles. His tone would begin to shift from joking fun to biting ridicule. By February 2015, Leafy was embroiled in the middle of a major transition. He had only gained about 5,000 subscribers since the summer of 2013, and at the start of 2015, Leafy's videos were actually getting fewer views than they were 2 years prior. Minecraft was diminishing in popularity, jeopardizing his flagship series. His efforts were now fractured across an assortment of different side projects. Jack of all trades, master of none. If you asked any observer at the time, they probably would have told you that Leafy's channel was dead in the water. But no one could have guessed that Leafy's channel was about to become more alive than they ever thought was possible, all thanks to a small seed he planted just a year before. Leafy entered 2015 teetering between making gameplay videos and making commentary videos. Then, he had a delightfully devilish idea. Why not do both, in the same video? He had actually experimented with this format back in 2014, but he truly didn't embrace it until March 2015. You see, what Leafy would do is talk over gameplay footage with a totally unrelated story or rant. I know this seems commonplace on YouTube today, but back in 2015, it was almost unheard of. Leafy most likely did not invent this style, but he certainly popularized it. Unbeknownst to everyone at the time, this method of placing unrelated commentary over gameplay footage was a formula for massive success in the YouTube algorithm. Leafy could engage viewers with any topic he wanted, while simultaneously keeping his videos in the gaming category. This gave Leafy a huge advantage over other gaming channels. He didn't have to be good at the games. He didn't have to be good at commentating the gameplay. He could pump out quote-unquote gaming videos while attracting broader audiences with his more general commentary and rack up more watch time than his competition. Gaming was, and still is, one of the most popular genres on YouTube, and the algorithm would begin to promote Leafy's videos far and wide. But Leafy's new style of gameplay content wasn't the only thing drawing in viewers to his channel. Something far more sinister was also to blame, something that Leafy had foreshadowed over his past 2 years. Leafy began to dedicate much of his content to making fun of children. In 2015, YouTube was a much more edgy place than it is today. This was a time before the adpocalypse neutered YouTube's more mature content. This was a time when channels like Filthy Frank were at their cultural peak, and getting away with videos that pushed the boundaries of what was acceptable on YouTube. This new frontier sparked a new kind of audience on YouTube, one that craved more outspoken, contrarian, and abrasive content. Leafy quickly became one of the channels to satisfy this new demand. Starting in March, Leafy would begin to go all in on appealing to the edgy part of YouTube. He started 3 new series: Kids That DDoS, Kids That Are Toxic, Kids That YouTube, mixed in with other general purpose rants, as well as more CSGO related content. This new brand of Leafy began to pay off, fast. By July, Leafy had doubled his subscriber count. He surpassed 100k in August, 200k in September, and 300,000 in October. This was presumably also the time when Leafy scrubbed his channel of all Minecraft related content, all except for this one video, which, for some reason, you can still view on his channel today. Minecraft had quickly developed a reputation as a game for little kids, the very same group Leafy was attacking in his new videos. For 3 years, Minecraft had brought Leafy his only taste of success on YouTube. Needless to say, it had served its purpose. Leafy had moved on to big boy games. Because if you want to make it big on YouTube, you gotta act like a big boy, otherwise people might make fun of you. Leafy disposed of his Minecrafter past so swiftly that it was almost reptilian. Oh yeah, I should probably mention the reptilians. Back in my video about Trump's rise to power, I talked about how he used memes to greatly expand his influence. Well, it turns out that Leafy kinda did the same thing. Enter the reptilians. It started off as a small joke in an August 2015 video.
No, but these dudes legit believe that the fucking Illuminati is real. Some of them believe that 9/11 was an inside job by the Reptilian Brotherhood. Dude, I can't say reptilian with a straight face, man. It's just too much.
Glad you come to join us.
After which Leafy's fervent and rapidly growing audience began to adopt the joke as a meme. About a week later, Leafy made another video expressing his approval of the meme, and he unknowingly enabled one of the most cancerous YouTube epidemics in recent memory. Leafy unleashed the reptilian army to terrorize comment sections across the internet. Over the next several months, Leafy's fans would raid the comments of big YouTubers and spew reptilian propaganda. The hissing and spam and KYS comments became so widespread that it prompted an episode of Keemstar's Drama Alert, another channel that had been steadily growing over the same time period.
The man responsible for all the hissing on YouTube right now is LeafyIsHere.
This new source of attention would cause Leafy's channel to grow even faster, and it certainly wouldn't be the last interaction between Leafy and Keemstar. For the immediate future, Leafy and Keemstar would enter a cooperative relationship, with Leafy utilizing Drama Alert as a platform to extend his reach to a bigger audience. A few months later, Leafy would appear on Drama Alert to engage in a friendly insult battle with Pyrocynical, another commentary channel that had a similar style of ranting over unrelated gameplay footage. From what I can tell, they were all on good terms. Things were only looking up for Leafy. He had crafted his channel into one of the hottest properties on all of YouTube. Around Christmas 2015, Leafy would pass 500,000 subscribers. Just 45 days later, he would pass 1 million.
It's ugly, like look at you, it's a damn shame. Just remember all caps when you spell the man name.
Leafy had done it. He had made it big on YouTube. Just 12 months earlier, all he had was a floundering channel that was milking the last drops of popularity from a declining Minecraft game. In just a year, Leafy had concocted one of the fastest growing channels on all of YouTube, equipped with a loyal and ravenous fanbase. He started with basically nothing and created a bona fide empire, and he did it in a way that had never been done before. Normally, to become as popular as Leafy was, you have to be some high energy gamer who screams a lot, a legit celebrity, or a flawlessly attractive vlogger plucked straight from Hollywood Hills. I guess nowadays you could achieve the same growth by selling your soul to 5-year-olds and playing with toys for a living, but this was before all of that became a thing. Before 2016, there was never another channel like Leafy's. He was barely promoted. He wasn't smiling and laughing all the time. He didn't have a doofy looking haircut. He didn't have professional looking production value. He was just some shady kid making rants in his bedroom, and he reached the highest echelon of YouTube almost all by himself. Channels like Leafy's weren't supposed to get popular, yet somehow through a mostly guerrilla campaign, he made it there. And not only that, but he was leading a booming genre of content almost completely unopposed. There was no reason to believe that Leafy's channel would stop growing anytime soon. Leafy had become the McDonald's of his domain. He had achieved every YouTuber's dream. But this dream was about to turn into a nightmare. Even at this time, even when almost everyone liked him, even when his channel seemed unstoppable, there were cracks forming in the foundation. Let's just say that maybe there was a reason why there was never another channel like Leafy's.
And now I'm here to inform you of a very simple fact. This Sunday at Backlash, I put your downward spiraling career to sleep.
YouTube Geographic is brought to you by Patreon, and by viewers like you. But most importantly, by viewers like Balto Lone Wolf, Etienne Senpai, Aran9, and LGBTQIA. Thank you. Do you want to see more videos like this one, but don't have Patreon? If so, please consider supporting the series by picking up the new YouTube Geographic t-shirt. YouTube Geographic? That sounds like a pretty dead meme to me. Everyone knows the real reason people watch this channel is for complaining and memes. So how about supporting the real top series on this channel by buying a Minute Memes t-shirt?
Star Wars The Phantom Menace was the most disappointing thing since my son.
Hey, what's up guys? It's me, Galactron, with Leafy.
Hey, what's up?
So let's talk about something we haven't for a while. Leafy's videos. When we last left off, Leafy was only ranting about children. However, once he figured out that these rants were his ticket to success, he doubled down on edgy content. He expanded his scope to booby streamers, then women and sex in general. At first he would only talk about broad subjects, but soon he would begin to target specific individuals. He would ramp up the clickbait, more racy thumbnails, more shocking hyperbolic titles. He would begin to indulge himself in something known as cringe culture, a trend that started gaining popularity in 2015, which involved roasting people on the internet for being weird. This foul cocktail of ingredients led to some of the most toxic content that YouTube has ever seen. And with toxic content comes a toxic fan base. Leafy was seemingly oblivious to this, but whenever he would feature a person in one of his rants, his fan base would often stalk and harass that individual. An early warning sign came in January 2016 when Leafy attacked a small occult YouTuber by the name of Mr. Black Darkness 666. Leafy's fans immediately went after Mr. Darkness, and he responded in a video where he attempted to place a curse on Leafy. The two confronted each other on Drama Alert, where they kind of reconciled their differences.
I'm sorry, Mr. Black Darkness 666.
So, Mr. Darkness, do you still want him to die?
No, I guess not.
Okay. Hey!
It is worth noting that Mr. Darkness never actually lifted the curse from Leafy. Just an interesting bit of trivia.
I still have to, like, do the if I want the spell to end, I have to do the counter spell.
But anyway, pretty much everyone sided with Leafy on this issue, mostly because Mr. Darkness was such a melodramatic weirdo. However, the important outcome of this altercation was that Leafy denied responsibility for the actions of his fans. He claimed that all of his videos existed under a blanket state of satire, which supposedly excused him from the wrongdoings of his fans.
And I made a video about it, and it was one of those things that a lot of reaction channels do. It's one of those things that's like 50% like parody and like for comedy. It's basically satire, and then 50% like an actual message.
All right.
I mean, a little bit is on you, but you can't fucking take responsibility for every single person that watches your videos. That's ridiculous, you know?
Why? That's bullshit. Why can't you just make another video telling them to fucking calm down and
see? That's exactly what I was talking about with me and Pyro. We were thinking about making a video talking about satire content and how we make videos about people, but again, it's just parody and it's just for more comedic values. It's not we're not legitimately hitting these people.
That would all change after one video where Leafy and his fans took things too far. Leafy would upload a video making fun of a YouTuber by the name of TommyNC2010. Later that day, Tommy posted an emotionally distressed response, claiming that Leafy's fans had harassed him and given him death threats. On March 20th, H3H3 Productions made a video calling out Leafy and the rest of the commentary community, accusing them of enabling a culture of bullying.
I've been putting off talking about this because it's just, I'm actually friends with these guys, so it's awkward and it's uncomfortable. But if for some reason we as a community have been giving these guys a pass.
Now, I'm sure all of you know who H3H3 is today, but back in 2016, he was producing a fairly different type of content. Much like Leafy, H3H3 was producing semi-satirical rants and commentaries about people on the internet. Although H3H3's content was conceptually similar to Leafy's, there were a few key differences that set him apart. For one, H3H3 had a far less abrasive tone than Leafy. He had a much more mellow and joking approach to his subjects, attracting a much less toxic audience. In a nutshell, H3H3's videos made you laugh, while Leafy's made you mad. Additionally, H3H3 often targeted figures more famous than he, otherwise known as punching up. He would go after TV shows, celebrities, and giant YouTube prank channels. Leafy, on the other hand, had a reputation of punching down. He frequently targeted channels much smaller than his own, leading to much more harm to the victim from Leafy's overwhelming fanbase. Heading into 2016, Leafy and H3H3 represented two diverging ends of the commentary community, and it wasn't long before they were no longer compatible. Due to the unprecedented amount of backlash Leafy was receiving from H3H3's video, he quickly took down the TommyNC rant and issued an apology. But he wasn't taking all that flack sitting down. H3H3's Leafy rant marks a landmark moment in YouTube history, as it sparked a chain of events that would make 2016 the most influential year in the history of YouTube drama. Drama that intensified on March 23rd, when Leafy retaliated with the H3H3 Productions rant. In it, Leafy revealed a series of DMs between he and Ethan, uncovering a rather duplicitous side of Ethan, in which he befriends Leafy just months before attacking him, while also conspiring against Pyrocynical.
Because a lot of people don't understand that me and H3H3 Productions used to be friends.
The commentary community was now split in two, and for the first time since becoming popular, Leafy looked somewhat vulnerable. He had never before dealt with a confrontation where a huge number of people were against him. The H3 Leafy drama sent shockwaves across the YouTube community, and Leafy quickly became one of YouTube's most notorious figures. It got everyone talking, even a guy like Video Game Donkey, someone who never commentates on anything drama related, made a video mocking Leafy.
You may remember me from my dipshit videos where I make fun of retarded people.
A few months later, Ethan would actually unlist the Leafy rant. He uploaded a video apologizing for his overly personal attack on Leafy, claiming that he was no longer proud of the original rant. Interestingly, Ethan would quickly unlist this video too, and you can make of that what you will. Regardless of Ethan's true intentions, the damage was already done to Leafy's credibility. The H3H3 rant was the first shot across the bow in the internet's gradual turn against Leafy, and a sign of much more grave things to come. But once all the flames died down, Leafy would remain relatively unscathed for the next couple of months, as YouTube's scorn was instead drawn to a very familiar figure.
Keep your hand on your gun. Don't you trust anyone.
After H3H3 turned on his former ally, everyone in the commentary community had to watch their backs. The Leafy rant would go on to attract a ton of viewers, and everyone discovered that there was now a huge audience for YouTube drama, and therefore a huge incentive to expose unscrupulous YouTubers.
Be the first one to fire. Every man is a liar.
That opportunity was seized by a new challenger that you all know as iDubbbz. On May 5th, 2016, iDubbbz uploaded the bombshell known as the Keemstar Content Cop, a 22-minute expose that ripped into Keemstar with such surgical precision that it instantly shot him up to public enemy number 1. Keemstar, who thrived on YouTube drama, was ironically going to become its next target. Leafy should have been thankful. Keemstar had taken all the heat off of him, but Leafy, the eager opportunist that he was, saw Keemstar's stumble as an opportunity to redeem himself after the H3H3 dispute. Just a few months earlier, Leafy used Keemstar as a friendly platform to grow his audience. Leafy would once again use Keemstar to grow his audience, this time as an enemy. On June 13th, Leafy would launch the first strike in a series of attacks that spanned 2 months and 4 rants, culminating in a video where Leafy claimed he was suing Keemstar for defamation. The Keemstar rants were almost universally liked, and they became some of the most popular videos on his channel. Leafy rode the wave of Keemstar hate, along with his usual content, to the highest level of popularity that he ever achieved. This was the peak of Leafy's empire. It was all downhill from here. During the summer of 2016, Leafy still towered above all of his contemporaries in the commentary community. On July 4th, Leafy's channel was hacked by a rogue group by the name of Poodle Corp. His channel was quickly restored back to normal, and the Poodle Corp incident soon faded from recent memory. This brief little incident did reveal one important consequence. Leafy wasn't just a big channel, he was also a big target. The internet's collective rage against Keemstar lasted throughout the summer and began to burn out towards the end of August. During that time, Leafy had feasted on the decaying remains of Keemstar's reputation. However, unlike old times, Leafy was the scavenger, not the killer. For the first time in a YouTube confrontation, Leafy was not the apex predator. That distinction now belonged to iDubbbz, a title that he would ferociously retain in the next edition of Content Cop.
You're
hiding your putrid, malformed chin. If you look at anyone with a weak chin, not only is his chin open to the public, no chin at all, very weak chin, lost chin, weak chin, chin implant. Chin, 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 chin. Hide the chin.
It wasn't the most meticulously researched Content Cop. It wasn't the most groundbreaking. It didn't have the most profound message, but it didn't need to. The simple purpose of this Content Cop was to beat Leafy at his own game, to stoop to Leafy's level and give him a taste of his own medicine. This wasn't a shocking expose on Leafy's character. Everybody already knew why Leafy was problematic. The purpose of this Content Cop was to serve as a sheer display of dominance, dismantling Leafy's content by using his own methods against him. Any logical defense Leafy could have made didn't matter, because he had a weird chin. Another victory for weaponized memes. For the first time ever, Leafy was shoved off his high perch and cast into the depths of mass ridicule and personal insults. The very same hell he had subjected to his dozens of victims. Content Cop had effectively swayed public opinion against Leafy. You almost couldn't take him seriously afterwards. All of Leafy's credibility as a ruthless cynic had been demolished, and in the eyes of most casual viewers, Leafy's legacy was set in stone as a cowardly, insecure troll who bullies people for attention, but more importantly, as a guy with no chin. After the Content Cop, Leafy would never really recover. His sub count pretty much froze at 4.8 million, then began to take a nosedive. His new uploads were bombarded with tens of thousands of dislikes from persistent haters. His videos dwindled in viewership from several million views each to just a few 100,000. Many other YouTubers followed up on Content Cop by coming out of the woodwork with their own personal accounts of how Leafy took advantage of them, accusing him of greedy and manipulative behavior. As time went on, Leafy would only become more and more maligned. No one really came to his defense. No one that mattered, at least. All of Leafy's influential friends from the past had abandoned him. He had made too many enemies. And fascinatingly, through all of this, Leafy never changed. He kept up the bombastic titles. He kept up the sexualized thumbnails. He kept up his edgy reptilian persona. He just kept charging forward, full steam ahead. It was as if he was refusing his own fate, in complete denial of his doomed channel. He just kept going, fueled perhaps by a burning desire to reclaim his glory, the fleeting fame and admiration that now eluded him. Or maybe he kept up the roasts and rants because he had forgotten how to do anything else. YouTube fame had consumed him for the better part of 2 years. Maybe the constant praise and fan worship had conditioned Leafy to accept toxic rants as part of his identity. It was the only formula he knew that gave him the fame he desperately desired. He no longer knew any other way of making content. Leafy convinced himself that he would ride his downward spiral to the bitter end. His last taste of fame came in July 2017 when Leafy got exposed. Literally, after his Snapchat got hacked and his bare, naked body was released online for everyone to see. Ironically, Leafy's legacy ended with everyone roasting him for being weird. After this incident, Leafy wouldn't last much longer. Maybe reality finally caught up with him. Maybe he could only take the hate for so long. Maybe he finally accepted his demise after ranting about Jake Paul couldn't even save his channel. Leafy had already abandoned his Twitter page in May 2017, and after uploading a final rant in December, Leafy called it quits. He didn't even say goodbye. So that's it then. Content Cop killed Leafy. The end. But that's not the whole story. Something else was already killing Leafy long before Content Cop got to him. Something bigger than anyone could possibly imagine. It's easy to sit there and believe that Content Cop was totally responsible for Leafy's demise. And while it is true that following Content Cop, Leafy's subscriber count started a permanent decline, if you take a closer look at the numbers, the data, the analytics, something just doesn't add up. This episode of Content Cop propelled iDubbbz and the series to legendary popularity. People point to this video and what subsequently happened to Leafy as proof that iDubbbz is a bona fide YouTube killer. But is that actually true? To date, iDubbbz has produced 11 episodes of Content Cop. In 7 of them, he has talked about a specific YouTube channel. So out of those 7, how many do you think were directly killed by Content Cop? Jinx is a pretty dead channel today, but his decline didn't start until several weeks after Content Cop. The Fine Bros lost subs for a brief period, but that was due to attacks from multiple YouTubers, not just iDubbbz. And even with that, the Fine Bros are still doing better today than they ever have been. Keemstar experienced a significant decline after Content Cop, but after about a year, his numbers returned back to normal, so you can't really argue that he's still a dead channel. Tanamongu, you could argue, was directly affected by Content Cop for several months, but now that a year has passed, her channel has rebounded and is currently thriving. Certainly not dead. The Rice Gum Content Cop, which you'd think would be the most influential since it's currently the most viewed in the series, barely put a dent in his numbers. The only channel besides Leafy that you could argue got killed by Content Cop is How to Prank It Up, which is pretty dead today and started declining right after the iDubbbz video, so I'll give him that one. If you've been keeping score, that's 2 out of 7 Content Cops you could even argue directly killed the channel they were targeting. Based on the data, it seems like Content Cop is actually far more likely to have minimal to no effect on its target channel, which made me pretty skeptical of it being the true cause of Leafy's downfall. And unlike How to Prank It Up, which was one of dozens of interchangeable and forgettable YouTube prank channels, Leafy was a distinct entity who was leading his genre with a highly loyal fan base. Could one single video really stop all of that progress in its tracks? I don't think so. And if you dive deeper into the analytics, Leafy's true killer begins to appear. First of all, Leafy's stats show a sharp decline beginning in July 2016. Keep in mind, Content Cop came out September 12th, and even before the Content Cop, Leafy's subscriber rate had already dropped by 80% over the past 2 months. Over that same period, his average views dropped by about 40%. Even during the month of September, when you'd think Leafy would at least gain a temporary boost in views from the drama surrounding Content Cop, he had his biggest decline in viewership yet. Perhaps you could argue that Leafy's content had grown stale, and that his audience had grown tired of it, but does that really explain an 80% reduction in subscriber growth in just 2 months? Let's compare that to our old friend Captain Sparkles, who took 14 months to achieve the same decline. It just doesn't make sense that Leafy would all of a sudden fade so quickly, especially considering how loyal his audience was. Another intriguing detail is that once Leafy's numbers hit rock bottom, he could never recover. By spring 2017, Leafy's view count had flatlined to about 10% of what it was at its peak, and it slowly continued to decline beyond that. Now, this isn't too out of the ordinary for a typical YouTuber. A lot of channels peak in popularity only to slowly fade away and never return. However, Leafy was not a typical YouTuber, so you have to compare him to a more similar channel, like Keemstar. Leafy and Keemstar had very similar experiences in 2016. Both were subjects of Content Cop, both went through a period where they lost many subscribers, and I think it's fair to say that both had a pretty similar audience. And when you compare their stats, they both flatlined in a similar way, except for one thing. Keemstar eventually bounced back. Not slowly either. Over just 2 months in mid-2017, he inexplicably spiked back up into popularity. And by the time his numbers stabilized, his subscriber rate had more than quadrupled from where they were in early 2017. It was as if a giant weight had been lifted from his channel, allowing it to suddenly grow freely. It just doesn't seem natural. And this is where my theory comes in. Content Cop didn't kill Leafy. YouTube did. And I'm not talking about the YouTube community or the YouTube algorithm. Put on those tinfoil hats, everyone, because I am proposing that YouTube's executives conspired against Leafy to sabotage the visibility of his channel. And this isn't just something I'm pulling out of my ass to explain away Leafy's decline. There's a ton of evidence I found supporting this theory. In December 2017, an anonymous user under the alias TowerDog leaked some classified information about YouTube's internal activities. He alleged that in mid-2016, YouTube held a private meeting with a few select creators. This meeting had one objective: to decide what to do with what YouTube referred to as unwanted channels. Earlier in this video, I mentioned how becoming a big channel also makes you a big target, and back when Leafy was rising up the ranks, he attracted attention from more than just edgy teenagers. Apparently, YouTube had become well aware of Leafy's meteoric rise, and they wanted none of it. They most likely felt that Leafy's method of borderline cyberbullying people for fame would set a dangerous precedent for YouTube as a whole. YouTube's higher-ups supposedly threw around ideas of channel deletion and direct censorship, but they ultimately decided against both of those, and settled on a much more discreet option of getting rid of Leafy and channels like him. 3 months later, YouTube would quietly release the system we now know as demonetization. It took over a year after that before YouTubers started to realize that demonetization affected much more than ad revenue. We began to notice that demonetized videos would directly correlate with poorer video performance, uncovering a massive system of indirect censorship where affected videos would show up far less in viewers' recommendations. After further research, YouTubers discovered an entire underground rating system that affects the monetization status of entire channels. So, based on what we now know today, is it not reasonable to infer that YouTube may have covertly injected an early version of this system into Leafy's channel? In other words, did Leafy become the first secret victim of YouTube's demonetization system? I think it's highly likely. What else could be responsible for all of the strange patterns in Leafy's data? It's just too much of an anomaly to happen under natural circumstances. Something had to be pulling the strings behind the scenes, and I think that thing was YouTube tweaking the visibility of Leafy's videos. It makes perfect sense on YouTube's end. They were worried about Leafy gaining too much influence and turning YouTube's culture toxic. They wanted to stop him, but they didn't want anyone to know they were deliberately interfering with the growth of a YouTube channel. Now consider this. Leafy can't gain any more influence if the algorithm doesn't spread his videos to new people. And people won't notice which videos YouTube isn't recommending them. And if you pay attention, you can see the extent to which YouTube has hidden Leafy's videos. Let's look at YouTube search. If you search up any channel you can imagine right now on YouTube, you're pretty much guaranteed to find videos from that channel in the first few results of the search. However, if you search for Leafy's channel on YouTube, the first results you see aren't Leafy's videos, but other people's videos about Leafy. Here's another example. Leafy's channel once peaked at nearly 5 million subscribers. So based on that stat, how many views do you think his most viewed video has? For comparison, I have around 270,000 subscribers, and my most viewed video has over 5 million views. It's very common for YouTube channels to have their most popular video with a view count several factors above their subscriber count. So considering Leafy's sub count was nearly 5 million at one point, you'd expect his most viewed video to have around 15, 20, or 30 million views. Leafy's most viewed video has just over 8 million views, not even double his subscriber count. It's bizarre, and it's probably way less than you expected. It's almost as if Leafy's videos have never been spread beyond his core audience. There's one more little wrinkle to this theory that I discovered. Out of all the episodes of Content Cop, the Leafy Content Cop was the only one that YouTube put at the top of trending for more than 24 hours. And I found this fact the most interesting of all. If this theory were true, Content Cop would be the perfect cover-up for Leafy's downfall. You may not believe it. You may think that Leafy's sudden and indefinite decline happened organically. You may think that TowerDog just made up his allegations of YouTube's secret meeting. You may think that all the research and evidence related to YouTube's indirect censorship is bogus. And even if you are the most skeptical person on the web about this theory, let me just ask you one thing. Have you ever seen a Leafy video in your recommendations after 2016? Or maybe everything I just said is wrong. And Leafy's downfall was actually caused by Mr. Darkness's curse.
Ladies and gentlemen, the death spell has been turned off. Drama Alert Nation.
No, I still have to like do the if I want the spell to end, I have to do the counter spell.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the rise and fall of LeafyIsHere, from beginning to end. So what did we learn? Well, I think the story of LeafyIsHere is a cautionary tale of what happens when a YouTuber becomes too popular too quickly. A lot of people will tell you that Leafy deserved all the punishment he got. Given the 12 or so months of unleashing his toxic fanbase on unsuspecting victims across YouTube, Leafy's ultimate fate of mass public humiliation and ridicule seemed like a fitting end to one of the most notorious figures on this website. But if you look past the hate, if you look past the drama, past the fame, the fortune, and the fans, you may realize that Leafy was only 20 years old at the peak of his fame. That's the same age I am now, and oddly enough, looking back at Leafy's YouTube career, I noticed a lot of parallels between him and me. We both started making videos many years ago, built up a moderate audience from making a consistent type of video for many years, only to suddenly pivot to making more outspoken commentary videos. Maybe it's all just a coincidence, but to be honest, I think there's a little bit of Leafy in all of us. What person doesn't want to become a famous and successful YouTuber? Why do you think people spend so much time and effort putting themselves into this virtual box that, in all likelihood, everyone will ignore? It's because everyone is chasing that same dream, that image of a guy with a mansion and a Lamborghini who got rich from playing video games all day. We fixate ourselves on the idea of making it big on YouTube, but very few of us actually think about what we'll do once we get there. Leafy, without a doubt, started off just like the rest of us, except he actually got to experience that dream as a reality, and once he got there, he didn't know how to handle it. He wasn't mature enough. He abused his power. He let his rabid fan base run roughshod. He took advantage of his friends. He surrounded himself with a cult of personality, and he didn't realize he was doing anything wrong until it was too late. Leafy had become consumed by YouTube fame, and it blinded him from his flawed reality. He was thrust into the spotlight before he was ready, and much like the fable of Icarus, Leafy rose too quickly and flew too close to the sun, which immediately sent him crashing back down to Earth. But was that really Leafy's fault? His only real crime was making the same toxic videos that YouTube's algorithm validated in the first place. He did what any other YouTuber would have done. He found a formula that got views and stuck to it. Is it really fair to judge Leafy for not anticipating that the same videos that brought him everything he ever wanted would also lead to his downfall? It really makes you wonder, if Leafy had risen to popularity much more gradually, would he have made those same mistakes? And as much as you may dislike Leafy's content, you have to admit that he did have a few redeeming qualities. There's no denying that Leafy was a captivating and charismatic speaker. Let's just say there's a reason Leafy convinced almost 5 million people to subscribe to him in just a year. Additionally, Leafy provided a very alternative style and tone to everything else that was popular on YouTube at the time. Call me a contrarian, but for a while it was somewhat refreshing to see a popular YouTuber who wasn't cut from the same cookie-cutter template as the rest of them. Leafy was just some unattractive guy making videos in his dimly lit bedroom, and that was all he needed to appeal to people. And finally, you have to admit that back when Leafy was this huge supervillain of the internet, YouTube was a lot more interesting for everybody. Do you ever think that maybe, if at any point during his rise to fame, Leafy had stopped for a second and exercised just a little bit of humility and empathy for his victims, would he have changed his ways? And if so, would he still be as hated? Would Leafy still be around today? And that's what makes the tragedy of LeafyIsHere so frustrating. He had the potential to be one of the greatest YouTubers of all time. He could have changed the way we look at popular YouTubers. He could have opened the door for so many others who didn't fit the mold of the attractive vlogger with a Lamborghini in his mansion. But he didn't do any of that, all because he wouldn't stop roasting people for being cringy. 2 years later, and it was as if Leafy was never here at all. When I first started researching this topic, I expected to find myself hating Leafy like everybody else. What I found, however, was a whole lot sadder. When you look back at all the popular YouTubers who battled Leafy back in 2016, H3H3, Keemstar, iDubbbz, all of them went on to have very successful and lucrative YouTube careers. And when you remember that at one time, Leafy was more popular than all of those channels, it makes his demise seem like that much more of a missed opportunity. And in a cruel twist of fate, the death of Leafy's channel breathed life into so many others that are currently thriving. It seems like anybody involved with Leafy eventually came out on top, at the expense of Leafy himself. Maybe Leafy wasn't meant to get popular. Like I said earlier, there was never a channel like Leafy before, and there probably will never be another one like him in the future. When Leafy abandoned Minecraft to start roasting people, he didn't realize that he wasn't playing a game anymore. His subscriber count wasn't just a high score. It represented real people who would cause chaos on his behalf. The feuds he started weren't just virtual PvP battles. He didn't realize he was threatening real egos and real livelihoods. Leafy treated everyone like just another enemy in Minecraft. Little did he know, everyone began to see him as the enemy. He made enemies with people who were more powerful than he could possibly imagine. And after YouTube checked Leafy into the Black Ball Hotel, he never checked out. Game over.